In the 1840s, a Scottish doctor living in India named James Dale was frequently visited by men with enormous tumors in the scrotum, caused by mosquito bites. The operation to remove them was so painful that men would often put it off for years, only having it as a last resort. Dale had read about hypnotism and decided to try the technique as a way of relaxing patients, so that they would agree to have the operation. To his surprise, he found that not only did the patients feel relaxed, but they also didn't feel any pain during the operations. In other words, hypnosis had somehow acted as a powerful anesthetic. Dale reported that, in some cases, there was no pain or injury after the operation either, and that the healing process was faster. As he wrote, less constitutional disturbance has followed than under ordinary circumstances. There has not been a death among the cases operated on. Word began to spread about this amazing surgeon who could remove the massive tumors in 20 minutes without pain or after effects, and soon patients began to flock to Dale Hospital near Calcutta. Dale began to use hypnotism in other procedures too, including eye surgery, the removal of tonsils, breast tumors, and childbirth. Dale was assured that it was a matter of his patients pretending that they weren't feeling any pain. He noted that, in addition to a lack of writhing and moaning, patients didn't display physiological signs of pain such as changes to pulse rate and eye pupils. At the time Dale was practicing, mortality rates for operations were massive. A staggering 50% of patients died during or after them. But in 161 recorded cases of Dale operations, the mortality rate was only 5%. The reasons for this are unclear. Dale himself believed it was due to vital mesmeric fluids passing from him to the patient, which stimulated the healing process. However, it was probably related to reduced loss of blood, and perhaps an activation of the same self-healing abilities that occur with a placebo. The hypnotic state. The hypnotic state is still mysterious. There is no clear explanation of what happens when a person becomes hypnotized, or how the state is different from normal consciousness. But the essential aspect seems to be that, under hypnosis, the normal conscious self becomes immobilized. Normal conscious functions such as volition and control are taken over by the hypnotist, and with the conscious self in abeyance, the hypnotist appears to have direct access to the person's subconscious mind. Certainly, one of the most striking aspects of hypnosis is the powerful influence of the mind over the functioning of the body. Dale was by no means the only physician to use hypnosis, but from the mid-19th century, the practice was superseded by the use of chemical anesthetics. But there were still some areas of medicine where the practice continued. Dentistry, in particular. At the turn of the 20th century, hypnosis was dentists' main method of pain management, and it became almost universal for dentists during the First and Second World Wars, when chemical anesthetics were scarce and facial trauma was common. Even now, some dentists still use hypnosis, especially in cases where a person's medical history precludes the use of an anesthetic. Recent research with patients who had teeth extracted under hypnosis showed that hypnotic-focused analgesia can increase pain thresholds by up to 220%. This research also found that 93% of patients experienced reduced postoperative pain and hemorrhage. Beyond its analgesic properties, there is a great deal of evidence that hypnotism can have a powerful healing effect. During the early to mid-19th century, the technique was used by physicians as a treatment and found to be effective against conditions such as epilepsy, neuralgia, and rheumatism. However, hypnosis appears to be particularly effective with skin conditions. In highly suggestible people, hypnosis has been used to rapidly heal wounds and burns, to make warts and blisters disappear, and to control the bleeding of hemophiliacs. Conversely, highly suggestible people may produce blisters or burn marks if they are told by a hypnotist that their skin has been burnt, or if they are blindfolded and the hypnotist pretends to touch them with a red-hot poker or another object. Explaining healing under hypnosis. Even though the effects of hypnosis are unexplained, it seems likely that the analgesic and healing properties of the state involve similar processes to the placebo effect. Research has made it very clear that the placebo effect isn't just about patients believing that their conditions have improved. Real physiological and neurological changes take place. genuine healing occurs. Recent research has found that placebos can have a significant effect even when people know they are taking them. Both the placebo effect and hypnosis suggest that we have a good deal more influence on our physiological functioning than we usually realize. Our beliefs and intentions seem to be able to activate innate self-regulating and even self-healing powers. A hypnotist simply creates the conditions under which these powers can be activated. One of the most mysterious aspects is why we don't have access to these self-regulating powers in our normal conscious state. We can't simply say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to make myself numb to pain, or I'm going to use my mind's power over the body to improve the symptoms of my rheumatism or back pain. We can only use these abilities unconsciously, through the intervention of a doctor, of a hypnotist. For me though, perhaps the most important implication of the regulating and healing effects of hypnosis are what they suggest about the relationship between the mind and the body. In modern materialistic science, the mind is usually seen as a kind of shadow of the brain. Mental activity is a product of and is equivalent to brain activity. All mental states can be reduced to brain states. However, if the mind is just an epiphenomenon of the brain, the powerful physiological effects of hypnosis and the placebo effect don't make any sense. How could an epiphenomenon bring about such powerful changes to the primary thing that it is a byproduct of? How can a shadow change the object that it is the shadow of? To use a different metaphor, it would be equivalent to suggesting that the images on the screen of a computer can change the software of the computer. In other words, hypnosis and the placebo effect suggest that the mind is not just an epiphenomenon of the brain. In fact, since mental intentions can bring about such powerful changes to the body, it seems likely that mind is more fundamental than the material stuff of our bodies. I believe that our culture urgently needs to adopt a post-materialist model of reality, which includes the principle that consciousness or mind are not byproducts but primary qualities of the world. One possibility is panpsychism, which suggests that consciousness is an intrinsic property of all material particles. Another is what I call panspiritism, which suggests that the primary reality of the universe is a fundamental consciousness that pervades all space and all material forms.